He got fired. I paid our rent for 6 months. He said I was his only piece. Then I found a bracelet under our bed that wasn't mine. When I asked, he said, "You're always so tired. She just makes me feel seen." I left the next morning. But he didn't know I took something from him that would burn every bridge he ever had when I released it. I'm 32. I live in Akron, Ohio. I'm a full-time nurse. Long shifts, heavy emotional work, barely enough time to breathe. I met Derek 3 years ago. He was 34, worked in logistics, kind of quiet, but funny once you got to know him. We matched on Hinge. Our first date was simple, burgers and beer at this bar downtown. He opened doors. He listened. He actually asked questions. I hadn't had that in a while. After 3 crappy relationships and 1 engagement that ended because the guy couldn't stop gambling, I thought Derek was different. He told me early on that I made him feel calm. That I was his safe place. He'd say stuff like, "The world's crazy, but you make it quiet." It got to me. Made me feel special. Important. We moved in after 9 months. Looking back, maybe that was too fast, but when you're tired of dating losers and someone finally makes you feel like you matter, it's easy to convince yourself it's right. It felt right. About a year and a half in, Derek lost his job. The warehouse he worked at closed one of their branches, and he got let go. He came home with this look on his face like someone had died. I held him. Let him cry into my shirt. Told him we'd figure it out together. That same night, I opened my laptop, adjusted my budget, and made sure I could carry both of us for a while. Rent? I paid it. Utilities? Me. Groceries? Me. Internet? Me. Gas? Me. He applied to a few jobs at first. Maybe 3 or 4 in the first month. Then he started slowing down. Said he was still figuring out what he wanted long term. I got it. I really did. Job loss messes with your head. But by the 3rd month, I was picking up extra shifts and he was playing Call of Duty until 3 a.m. I'd get home at 7 a.m. after a night shift, and he'd still be up in the living room, headset on, laughing with his online buddies while our sink overflowed with dishes. When I brought it up, he'd say stuff like, "I'm not lazy, I'm just lost." Or worse, "You wouldn't get it. You've never had to start over." So I stopped pushing. I figured maybe he just needed time. But time didn't help. 6 months passed. Nothing changed. By month 7, I was dead inside. Not from heartbreak. Not yet. Just from exhaustion. I was working 60+ hours a week, sleeping maybe 5 hours a night. I'd come home and just sit in my car for a while before going inside. Some nights, I'd cry without even knowing why. Just tears falling while I stared out the windshield. Derek noticed. But he didn't step up. He just said, "You're always so tired lately. I feel like I'm losing you." Losing me? I was drowning for both of us. He started going out more, to clear his head. Said he needed guy time. He'd disappear for hours, come back smelling like cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked, he said his friend James had sprayed him as a joke. I believed it. Stupid. It was a Friday night when everything shifted. I had just finished a brutal double shift. I got home around 9 p.m. and collapsed into bed. At 3 a.m., I got up to pee. On the way back, I noticed something shiny under the edge of the bed. I reached down, thinking it was a coin or maybe one of my earrings. It wasn't. It was a bracelet. Gold. Thin chain. Small heart charms. Not mine. I don't wear that kind of jewelry, and even if I did, I'd never wear something like that to work or to bed. I just stared at it. My heart didn't even race. It was like everything in me just stopped. When Derek came home an hour later, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, bracelet in hand. He smelled like soap and cologne. Not the cheap stuff he used to wear, but something smoother. I held up the bracelet. "This yours?" I asked. He blinked. Looked at it. Looked at me. No panic. No confusion. Then he said it. "You're always so tired. She just makes me feel seen." That was it. No apology. No shame. He said it like it was a fact. Like it made sense. I didn't throw anything. I didn't scream. I stood up, walked to the closet, and pulled out my go bag, the one I keep packed in case I ever get stuck on a double shift or an emergency happens at my sister's house. Tossed in a few more clothes and left. I was gone by 6 a.m. He didn't know I took something with me. 6 weeks earlier, I had borrowed his laptop to attend a Zoom training. When I opened his browser, I saw a folder labeled "Only Peace" on his bookmarks bar. The name caught my eye because that's what he always called me. His only peace. I clicked on it. I shouldn't have. But I did. Inside were links to voice memos and videos. He had recorded me. Private moments. Late night rants. Me crying. Me venting about work. Me talking in my sleep. All without my permission. And worse? He shared them. With his friends. There were comments. Laughing emojis. One guy said, "She's gonna crack any day now." Another called me nurse breakdown. I never said a word about it. I quietly synced his Google Drive to my own. Made copies. Saved everything. That's what I took with me when I left. And I wasn't done. I stayed with my sister Jolene for the first few days. She didn't ask too many questions at first. Just handed me a blanket and let me sleep. By day 4, I told her everything. About the bracelet. About the cheating. About the videos. Her face went pale. "You're telling me he recorded you? Shared it? While you were taking care of his unemployed ass?" I nodded. She didn't say another word. Just opened her laptop. We started digging. I already knew there were multiple women. I'd seen the texts. The Google Drive had folders labeled with initials. A, B, T, J, KH. Each one had screenshots of flirty texts, selfies, some photos that were, well, not just flirty. He'd been juggling at least 3 women for months. One woman, KH, was married. Another was a recruiter. That one pissed me off. Not just because she believed he was single, but because she had access to people, and he used her to get job leads while I was paying our rent. The third woman, AB, was familiar. I stared at one photo of her. She had a very specific tattoo on her wrist. A black rose. It hit me. She was a nurse. I'd trained her a year ago. We'd done 2 shifts together when she was fresh out of school. And she knew I was with Derek. I found her Instagram. Still public. She had a photo of a dinner plate, captioned, "He made me steak after a long shift. I could get used to this." Posted 3 weeks ago. Same plates we owned. Jolene and I worked fast. I tracked down the recruiter on LinkedIn. Reached out through a burner account. Sent her screenshots. I told her the truth. She replied within the hour. I had no idea. He told me he was single. He told me you were a crazy ex who couldn't let go. She was furious. I vouched for him. Twice. Gave him a referral last week to my company. He had an interview yesterday. She blocked him immediately. Then sent me proof. Interview cancelled. Referral revoked. His name got flagged in their HR system. One bridge down. Her husband was harder to find. She'd used only initials, but in one screenshot Derek sent to a friend, her full name was visible on his phone screen. Facebook made the rest easy. She was married. 2 kids. Husband ran a local HVAC business. I debated whether or not to say anything, that one felt dangerous. But then I saw a message she'd sent Derek, calling me, that depressing nurse you mooch off of. So I sent everything to her husband. Photos. Texts. Dates. He replied 5 hours later. Thank you. This wasn't the first time. Another life Derek torched. The girl with the black rose tattoo, AB, I debated on her too. But then I remembered something from her messages with Derek. She told him, I'd never date a broke man, but you're different. So I messaged her from my real account. Hey. I trained you once at Summa. Just wanted you to know you've been sleeping with my live-in boyfriend of 3 years. While I was paying all the bills. She never replied. But she deleted every photo of him by the next day. I had all the recordings. All the disgusting jokes Derek and his friends made. But I needed to be smart about how I used them. So I posted a few of the tamer ones where I'm crying after a 16-hour shift and he says, she cries like this every week. Think I should start billing her for emotional labor? I posted it to a private Facebook group for nurses across Ohio. It blew up. The comments were full of women saying things like, he's trash. You're not alone. I know that exact kind of man. They pretend to listen just to use it later. My ex did this too. Thank you for sharing. Then someone asked, what's his name? I didn't reply. But I didn't need to. A girl from Cleveland messaged me privately. Is this about Derek, last name? I said nothing. She said, I used to work with him. He hit on every female employee, even ones with rings on. And just like that, the whispers started. She always liked me. We weren't close, but she sent me birthday cards and checked in once in a while. I sent her a package. Inside, a printed letter. Screenshots. A USB with voice memos. And a note that said, I just thought you should know who your son really is. I kept quiet for too long. She called me that night, crying. He told me you left him. That you cheated. That you were mentally unstable. I didn't want to believe it, but he sounded so sure. Oh God, she promised she'd cut contact. Until he gets help, she said. I didn't expect that. But I appreciated it. 2 days later, he finally messaged me. Why are you doing this to me? You left. That should have been the end of it. You've ruined my chances at jobs. I had people block me. This isn't revenge. It's cruelty. I didn't reply. He messaged again the next day. All I did was cheat. People cheat all the time. You're acting like I killed someone. I still didn't reply. But Jolene did. From her phone. You recorded her crying. You mocked her pain. You used her. And you thought no one would notice. Well. Now they know. He never replied to her. He still had friends defending him. Bro, you made her snap. You should have just ghosted. I told you to delete that folder. You should sue her for defamation. They didn't care what he'd done. Just that he got caught. Because there was one last person I hadn't dealt with. His best friend, Marcus, the one who laughed the loudest in the voice memos. The one who told him to ride the nurse train as long as possible. Guess what? Marcus had a fiancée. And I had her email. I didn't plan to go after Marcus. Not at first. But then I listened to one of the voice memos again. I had it on loop while I was sorting through screenshots. It was from about a month before I left. Derek was playing Call of Duty with Marcus and someone named Jay. In the background, you can hear me crying. Real crying. That kind where you try to be quiet because you're embarrassed you can't hold it together. And then Marcus says, "You sure you don't want me to take her off your hands? I can fake concern better than you." She's got those tired eyes, like she'd beg you not to leave. They laughed for 30 full seconds. That was it. I found Marcus' fiancée through Facebook. Her name was Talia. She worked at a bank in Kent, not far from Akron. I remembered her from a dinner once, maybe a year ago. Pretty, polite, soft voice. She complimented my scarf and told me she was lucky Marcus had good friends like Derek. So I emailed her. Not from a burner. From my real account. Subject: You deserve to know. I attached the audio file. Just that one. No explanations, no photos, no accusations. She replied the next day. I thought it was just locker room talk. I asked Marcus before if he and Derek were shady. He said I was paranoid. I feel sick. She broke up with him within the week. Told me she packed her things and moved in with her sister. She'd been helping Marcus pay down his credit card debt for the last 6 months. Guess who'd been using that card to cover poker nights with Derek? I thought I was done. I wasn't. A few days after Talia left Marcus, I got an anonymous DM on Reddit. Someone had read the story I posted in the nurses group, parts of it had leaked to other forums. The message said, "Hey. You don't know me, but I used to work at the same warehouse Derek did. He didn't get laid off. He got fired. For harassment." My blood ran cold. They gave me details. Derek had been written up twice for inappropriate messages to a coworker. Final straw? He showed up drunk to a training and made a comment about someone's legs. I went through his emails. I still had access to one of his old Gmail accounts because he'd once logged in on my iPad and forgot to remove it. Sure enough, in the spam folder, a notice from HR. Termination. Not layoff. He had lied about the layoff from day one. I remembered how I held him while he cried. How I promised I'd take care of us. How I picked up extra shifts. He wasn't lost. He was just lying. Then I realized, his name was still on our lease. That meant if he got evicted for not paying after I left, it would show on my record too. I drove to the landlord's office the next morning with every receipt, bank statement, and message showing I had been the sole payer for the last 7 months. He looked over the paperwork and said, "You know he hasn't paid this month, right?" Said you two were still living together. I nearly laughed. I filed a formal removal request. Had to pay $60 to do it. But I made sure they flagged his credit if he didn't cover the last payment. Then I left a Yelp review. Not mean. Just honest. Beware of letting someone else sign the lease. Derek, last name, left me with the bills for months. Lied to management. Lied to me. Document everything. A few days later, I checked Zillow. The apartment was listed again. Rent dropped $200. Guess he couldn't afford to stay. One last thing. Remember how Derek said I ruined his job chances? Turns out, he had a final round interview with a company in Columbus. I found out through the recruiter woman, the one who had blocked him. She sent me a screenshot of a group chat where he bragged about faking sympathy for nurses to build his personal brand. He had planned to use his time living with me, my profession, my struggles, to paint himself as some kind of supportive partner who sacrificed everything while I worked on the front lines. There was even a fake post he drafted, planning to share on LinkedIn. Watching the woman I love work 16-hour shifts during the pandemic reminded me why I need to be better. I didn't have a job, but I had a purpose: support her, always. She is my hero. That post never went live. Because I sent the draft and his real voice recordings to the hiring manager at the company. Didn't hear back. But when I checked his LinkedIn a week later, that company was no longer listed under "in process." About 3 weeks after I'd left, burned every bridge, and cut all ties, he sent one more message. I get it now. I hurt you. You're not a bad person. I was scared. I didn't know how to be a man for you. Please, can we talk? I almost deleted it. Then I typed one sentence, you were never scared, just selfish. And blocked him for good. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought blocking him would finally close that chapter. But life doesn't just give you a clean break when someone's betrayed you that deep. There's always one last thing. About 2 months after everything blew up, I was helping out at a career day event at a local college. They needed volunteers to speak to nursing students. I wasn't planning on staying long, just an hour or two. I wore my scrubs, had a name badge, nothing fancy. Toward the end, I was grabbing a coffee in the lobby when I heard someone say, "Derek?" I turned. It was him. Standing at a tech company booth in a suit that didn't quite fit. Hair slicked back. Smile glued on. He didn't see me at first. He was too busy trying to charm a woman behind the table. I stepped back and just watched. And then I saw her, the recruiter. The one he'd lied to months back. The one who'd blocked him. She was working that booth. He was trying to talk to her like nothing happened. I saw her stiffen. Then she looked up and locked eyes with me. I didn't smile. I just gave her a small nod. She whispered something to the man next to her and walked away from the table. 2 minutes later, a staff member came out and told Derek they needed to talk to him in private. He didn't come back. A week later, I got a message request on Instagram. It was AB, the one with the black rose tattoo. The nurse I had trained. I need to apologize. I didn't know he was with you. He told me you two had broken up long before. I feel disgusting. We met for coffee. She cried. Said she found out through the Reddit post. Said he made her feel like she was the one, that he told her I was unstable, abusive, cold. I told her the truth. She listened. She didn't try to defend him. Before we left, she said, he told me you were invisible. That you were just background noise in his life. I smiled. Guess I was louder than he thought. A month later, Derek sent me a letter. Through a lawyer. He threatened to sue me for emotional distress, harassment, and defamation. I almost choked laughing. But I wasn't stupid. I called a lawyer myself. Showed them everything, the audio files, the messages, the recordings he took of me without consent. They sent back a letter that basically said, try it, and we'll countersue for invasion of privacy and abuse. We never heard from him again. 3 months after I left him, he was jobless, homeless, and alone. Marcus had turned on him. His family had stopped talking to him. His name had spread in hiring circles across Cleveland and Akron, thanks to recruiters who talk. He posted on Facebook one night, "It's wild how people can ruin your life and play the victim." Only 3 people liked it. One was his cousin. The other 2 were spam accounts. I saw the post because someone screenshotted it and sent it to me. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. I won't pretend I walked away without scars. I stopped trusting people for a while. I second-guessed everyone. Friends, coworkers, even my own sister sometimes. I hated how bitter I'd become. I hated that someone like him had taken that much from me. So I started therapy. Weekly sessions. Nothing magical. But little by little, I started to feel like myself again. I stopped thinking about him every day. I stopped feeling like I needed to win anymore. 6 months after I walked out of our apartment, I got a message from someone unexpected. The woman whose husband I had told about Derek. She said, "I just wanted to say thank you. I was blind. You opened my eyes. My kids are better off now." It hit me then. It wasn't just revenge. It was cleanup. It was restoration. The final nail, I mailed Derek one last thing. An envelope. Inside was a printed quote from one of the voice memos he didn't know I still had. He was talking to Marcus. He said, "Even if she finds out, what's she gonna do? Cry at her sisters? She's too tired to fight." On the back of the paper, I wrote, "Not too tired anymore. No return address." I don't know if he got it. I hope he did. He said I was his only piece. Turns out, I was the storm too. And I don't regret a damn thing.